What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another episode of PS4 Tutorials, episode 2. In the previous episode, I showed you guys how to jailbreak your PS4 from start to finish, how to update to 6.72, which is the system software version you need to be on to do the jailbreak. So if you need to do any of that, check back on episode 1. It shows you how to do all of that stuff. Now, I did say that episode 2 was going to be me showing you some useful homebrew apps. However, I have decided to delay that to episode 3 because I think it's important that I show you guys some other ways of hosting the jailbreak, different ways that you can host the jailbreak because people's situations are different. In episode 1, I just showed you accessing the exploit site on the internet, and a lot of people want to use the exploit offline. Even though I told people that it's totally safe to use it online, you're not going to get banned because the jailbreak's for an older system software version that doesn't allow you to connect to PSN anyway, so you're not going to get banned. Plus, you're blocking all connections to Sony servers. But there are some people who still want to use the exploit completely offline and never connect to the internet at all on their PS4 just to be extra safe, or because they don't have access to the internet, or where they're going or where they're taking their PS4, they don't have access to the internet. So they want an offline solution. And there's other people who want to host the exploit locally so that they can load the exploit faster because they might have a poor internet connection and stuff like that. So I'm just going to be showing you in this video multiple ways of accessing the exploit on your PS4 so that no matter what your situation is, you should be able to access the jailbreak on your PS4. That is the aim of this video. And then once we have this out of the way, then in future episodes, I can show you guys, how to make the most out of your jailbroken PS4 and, show you all the crazy awesome stuff that you can do with your jailbroken PS4 in the next episodes. So first of all, if you want to use the jailbreak offline real quick, as I showed before in episode 1, you can cache the payload for offline use. So if you go to the same exploit page, which is 165.227.83.145, I'm not going to go through stuff I already covered in episode 1, so if you're confused about any of this stuff, watch episode 1 before coming onto this video, if there's anything you're unsure about. But if you head back to the exploit page we went to in episode 1, as I said before, you can cache the pages for offline use, so you can cache all, and when you select this option, it starts caching all of the payloads in your browser. So this means that once you're disconnected from the internet, let's say you take your PS4 somewhere where there's no internet access, you can still go onto this page and load the payloads, load the jailbreak, because even though you're not online anymore, all these payloads are stored in your browser's cache, which will allow you to load them without an internet connection. Now, obviously, you still need an internet connection in the first place to cache the payloads in the first place. So that's not ideal for everyone, especially the people who can't connect to the internet in the first place to cache the payloads. But as you can see, you can do this method right here. So everything's now cached in the browser. So if I go into the settings and then I go into network settings and I disconnect from the internet, so I have no internet access now whatsoever on my PS4, and I go back onto the internet browser, go back onto the page, as you can see, it still loads. And then if I go into 6.72, all the payloads are still here. And if I load Mira, which is the main jailbreak payload, then as you can see, it's still loading the jailbreak, even though I'm not connected to the internet right now. And the way it's doing that, of course, is because the payloads have been cached in the browser. So that's one way, that's one kind of solution for hosting the exploit offline, but it's not a perfect solution because even though you are hosting it offline, you can still access the payloads offline. If anything happens, like the browser, caches too much information or too much browsing history and stuff like that, and then the payloads are not loading anymore, if you clear your cache, you're going to lose all of those payloads, and you might need to clear your cache from time to time to free up some memory in the browser if the cache gets too overloaded with other stuff. So because of that, this method of using the cached payloads is not a perfect solution. It's a temporary solution for using the exploit offline. It's not really a permanent solution of using the exploit offline. So let's have a look at some other solutions. I will be showing you at the end of the video a completely offline solution, but we'll cover that at the end. So let's look at some other free options of getting the exploit hosted locally. So another way of hosting the exploit locally, you're still going to need to connect to your network for this, but it will allow you to host the exploit locally instead of going to an actual website on the internet to access the payload, and that is to use a self-host. So what you can do is you can download one of these self-hosts There's quite a few from Lethal here, so you can download the latest one from Lethal that I'll put in the description. And this essentially creates its own local server to host the exploit on your computer, so that you can then just access the exploit from your computer instead of going out to the internet to access one on the internet. So what we can do is open up this RAR file with 7-zip or WinRAR, extract the folder that's inside. Again, the download links for everything will be in the description. So then if we run the folder right here, there is a exe called exploit host server v1.3. If you run this and it gives you an error message, you need to have Node.js installed. So you can get Node.js by going to nodejs.org and then going to the download page, which again will be linked in the description, and then just download the Windows installer for either 32-bit or 64-bit, depending on whether you have a 64 or 32-bit machine. Most people are on 64-bit these days, so download the 64-bit version of the installer. It's just a normal setup installer, so just install Node.js. And there is a bit of a problem with this exploit host, which is that it just seems to pick a random network adapter to host the exploit on, which is not right. If you have a lot of network adapters in your computer, then it's, it might pick the wrong one, and then you're not going to be able to access it. So what you can do to check is go on the command prompt. So go to start, type in cmd, hit enter, and then type in ipconfig in your command prompt. And then that will give you all the IP addresses of the different network adapters you have on your computer. So as you can see, the one it's picked is Ethernet adapter 4, which has the 56.1 at the end, which is not correct. That's one for like a virtual machine or something on my computer, which is the wrong one. I want it to select the wireless network adapter because that's the adapter that's providing my computer with the internet. That's the proper IP address of my computer on my network. So that is the one I want it to host on. If I right click on my network icon in the taskbar and go to open network and internet settings, then go to change adapter options, and then basically disable any adapters that I'm not using, any other adapters other than the one that I'm actually using to connect to the internet with. So if I do that, and then I go ahead and run this again, right here, as you can see, it now hosts on the correct adapter. So that's just a little kind of problem with it. I'm sure Lethal could easily update it to, just host on every network adapter so that it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter what network adapter you're using. It'll just host it on all of them. That would be better. Maybe he'll do that in a future update. But anyway, that's a temporary fix. So we now have that right there. So all we need to do is go to that IP address on our PS4. So if we go onto our PS4, I've reconnected to the internet. If we go onto our search bar and type in that exact address, and then it's /index.html, and then we go there, and as you can see, it takes us to the site right here. And we can now load the exploits from here. So you've got load exploit, you've got hen, you've got Mira, you've got Mira plus hen, all that kind of stuff. You've got all the other payloads down here, FTP, dumper, Linux, disable updates, enable updates, even fan speed control. So this is just another site. It looks different to the one we did in episode 1, but it's just a different theme. It's got all the same kind of payloads. So you can just go ahead and run them from right here. So that's one way of hosting the exploit locally. So we're not reaching out to the internet to, grab an exploit from the internet or load an exploit from the internet. We're loading it from our local network, from our computer. So yeah, that's one other way of hosting it locally. Another way of hosting it locally, so there's also this app for Android from Lethal, the same developer who made the self-host that we were just using. And it will allow you to host the exploit on an Android device, so you can connect to that Android device and essentially use the exploit on your PS4 from the Android device. So if you download that APK file and then you plug your Android device into your computer via a USB cable, so then make sure, of course, you unlock the device and allow, file sharing to the computer. And then you can go onto the Android device right here, go into like the download folder or something and just copy that APK file into the download folder. So then on your Android device, if you just go to your files, and then it should show up in recent files. If not, just go to your internal storage and then browse for the folder that you put the APK file in and select it. And just go ahead and install it. If it says that it can't install because it's not a trusted app or something like that, then you can just go into the settings, the security settings, and allow apps from unknown sources, and then you'll be able to install it. So once it's installed, you can open up the app, and here it is right here. So right now it's been hosted on Wi-Fi because my Android device is connected to my Wi-Fi network, and obviously the PS4 is connected to my Wi-Fi network, so they can connect to each other. So then you can select which version of Lethal's host you want to run. So we'll just go with V2 right now, and then we just switch that to on. And then at the bottom you can see you get a URL which you can then enter on your PS4. So going back onto the PS4, if I go to that URL, 192.168.1.73, and then :8080, you have to put the :8080 at the end. And then if we go there, it should take us to his host. There you go. Now, the only downside of this is that when your device goes into sleep mode, or the screen turns black, your phone goes idle, then, or it goes to the lock screen, then the app basically stops loading. So you have to make sure that your phone is still awake in order for it to load. But as you can see, you can access the payloads this way. So this is being hosted on my Android phone right now, and I can access the exploits. You've got Mira, FTP, all the other payloads are in here, disable updates, enable updates, Mira, all that kind of stuff. So you can load the exploit from here. So that is another way of doing it. Now, if you are not connected to a network, if you have no home network, then what you can also do on your phone is you can, if we turn this off, you can switch it over to hotspot so that it's going to host it on your hotspot. So if we scroll down here to our settings and we enable the mobile hotspot, which you can do, and if I hold down on that, it will take me to the settings. I've set the password for my hotspot to PS4 exploit. You can also change from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz, although if you're on a base PS4, it might be better to just go with 2.4. And then once you've done that, if you head back to the website, you make sure it's set to hotspot now instead of Wi-Fi, and then turn it back on. You can see the IP address at the bottom has changed. So now on the PS4, as long as it's close enough to my phone to connect to, I can then go to the network settings, set up an internet connection using Wi-Fi, and then for the Wi-Fi network, we're going to select our Android phone, then just enter the password that we set, which was PS4 exploit, and we'll just do done, click OK, and then that will connect your PS4 to your phone's hotspot. So even if you don't have a router wherever you're at, you can just basically make your phone your router by making it a hotspot, connecting your PS4 to it, and then using the app to host the exploit so that we can then go on our PS4 and we can type in the IP address. And then of course we have another :8080. So we do :8080, and there we go. That should take us to the exploit. And there we go. It takes us to the exploit. And I am not connected to my Wi-Fi network right now. I'm just connected to my phone via the hotspot. The phone is hosting the exploit on the hotspot, and I'm able to access the exploit this way. So you can just use your Android phone or tablet to access the exploit either on your Wi-Fi network or by creating a mobile hotspot and connecting your PS4 to it. So there you go. That's another way of accessing the exploit locally. So last but not least, what about a completely offline solution? What if you want to just be able to be completely offline, no phone, no tablet, no nothing like that, just completely offline, and you don't have to ever connect to the internet in the first place to cache the payloads or anything. You just want to have a completely offline solution. So in order to do this completely offline, you need to buy one of these Wi-Fi chips that you can get pretty cheap. As you can see, only about £5 here. What's probably $6 or $7, something like that, for one of these ESP8266 Wi-Fi chips. So if you buy one of those, they just connect via USB to your computer or PS4, and then they host their own little Wi-Fi network that you can connect to, but it's its own isolated network that does not reach out to the internet. So it's like its own little local network that it hosts, and you can connect your PS4 to it, and therefore you have a completely offline solution because you can flash a exploit host to the device so that it will host the exploit for you, and then you have a completely enclosed offline solution. Okay, so once you're in possession of a ESP8266 Wi-Fi chip, what you're going to want to do is connect it up to your computer using a USB cable. And once you've got it plugged into your computer, it is going to require a few different things, which will all be linked in the description. You're going to need the PY flasher. So there's a 64-bit version and a 32-bit version for Windows. There's also a version for Mac OS. So just download the version that corresponds to your version of Windows or Mac and download it right there. So I downloaded the 64-bit version right here. So you can click there to download it. And then we're also going to need the drivers for it. So I just downloaded the Windows 10 Universal driver, which you can get right here. There's also other proprietary versions. There's a Mac OS version and a Linux version. And then you're also going to need the exploit host for it as well. So right now I'm just using this one from Codemaster, which there's probably going to be more added. There was a lot of these for the old 5.05 exploits, so there's probably going to be a lot of them for the 6.72 exploit. Right now, this one is pretty much the only one available, so I just went ahead and downloaded the zip file right here. So those are the three things that you're going to need to download. So once you have it downloaded right here, all three things, we're going to first of all take the driver, and we're going to want to extract that out to our computer. So I'm going to create a folder on my computer called ESP driver, and I'm going to copy all of these files into that driver. Now the driver installer typically doesn't seem to work for me, these driver installers. So what I do to install the driver is I go into device manager. So if you search on Windows for device, you should find device manager right here. If you're on the Windows 10 start menu, then just type in device manager and it should show up right there. Okay, so I already have the driver installed, but and uninstalling it just reinstalls it automatically. But you should find the CP210 UART bridge showing up, but it will probably be showing up with this little exclamation point, meaning the driver is missing. So to install the driver, what you do is you right-click on it, you go to Update Driver, and then go to Browse My Computer for Driver Software. And then click Browse, and you want to browse for the driver right here, the location of where you extracted the drivers to, and then click Next, and it should install the drivers right there, and you should be done. And then it should show up properly now without the little exclamation point. And it should also say what COM port it's using. So right now you can see it says COM3. So I know it's using COM port 3. That's important. So the next thing we're going to do is run the Node MCU flasher. So we're going to run this and let that open up. Then for the serial port, we're going to select the correct COM port that it's using. So in my case, it's COM3. We're then going to select the firmware that we want to write, which is our exploit host firmware from Codemaster. So we're going to open up the Codemaster zip file and extract the bin file to our desktop. Then you can click browse and browse for the location. I'm just going to copy it as path and get rid of those quotations. So you can browse for the bin file so it gets added in here. Then we're going to select the baud rate or whatever that is. So 115200 is what you want to select. Then there's the different flash modes. Now it says that it's highly dependent on your device. If it's an ESP8266, it does recommend using DIO mode, which is what it should be selected on by default. If not, select DIO. And then we want to say yes, wipe all data off the device. And then we're going to go ahead and flash Node MCU. And that will go ahead and write our firmware to the device. So once that's done, we should then be able to access the exploit from the device. So as you can see, it's starting to write it right there. If you also go into the Codemaster zip file and run the manual, it will tell you it'll tell you right here the IP address. So it's 1337.1337, 1337, 1337 kind of thing. And then you have the name of the Wi-Fi network, which is ESP8266 exploit host. And then also, very important, the password to the Wi-Fi network, which is PS4 exploit. It also gives you, like if you're connecting on FTP, It also gives you the FTP username and password, which is also PS4 exploit. So just make sure you are aware of that. Okay, so there we go. It is now done. So once it's finished, you can then go ahead and close out of the flasher. Okay, so now you can unplug the ESP8266 chip and plug it into your PS4. You should get a little blue LED showing up. And then on the PS4, if you go into settings and you go down to network settings, set up an internet connection using Wi-Fi, just use an easy setup. And then for the network that you want to connect to, it's going to be the ESP8266 exploit host. And then for the password, as we saw, the password was in the manual, was PS4 exploit. So we're just going to enter PS4 exploit as the password and then go. You can change the password once you're connected to it. So there we go. So this is its own isolated network. We're not connecting to our normal network. We're not connecting to the internet. The Wi-Fi chip does not have access to the internet. It's just a local network, its own little isolated network. So because of that, you can then go into the internet browser. And if we then go to the IP address, so if we go to that IP address, as you can see, it takes us to the exploit host right here, and you can then load the payloads. So there's also more payloads if you click this little button right here. There's quite a few little payloads there. So it's got quite a lot of options: enable updates, disable updates, app to USB, PS4 trainer, FTP, and of course Hen, which is the homebrew enabler. Does it have Mira? Yeah, it does have Mira. There's Mira unofficial. So you can load Mira or Hen. Either one of them gives you the main jailbreak. So yeah, so that is essentially it right there. Let's run Hen just to see if it works. I think I've already ran Mira, so this could probably crash my PS4, but let's see. Nope, seems to be working so far. Yep, there you go. It has launched. Exit this window using the PS button, and Hen is running. So there you go. We now should have the debug settings right here and able to install our fake package files. So that's a completely offline solution. You do have to buy that little chip, but you know, it's completely offline. And also you can still connect your computer or phone to your PS4 on that network as long as they're close enough to the Wi-Fi chip. You know, you can connect other devices to that Wi-Fi chip so that you can connect via FTP or something like that. You just connect them to the same Wi-Fi chip, and then they'll be on the same network so they can connect to each other, communicate with each other. So yeah, that is essentially it. That's multiple ways of accessing the exploit. I showed you guys how to host it locally on your computer, how to host it on an Android device, how to, you know, do a completely offline solution with this ESP8266 chip, and also, of course, how to cache the payloads and load them offline from an online exploit as well. So hopefully now everybody should have some method of accessing the exploit, even if you don't have an internet connection. So yeah, anyway, that is basically it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful, and stay tuned because I'm going to be showing you so much more on the jailbroken PS4. This first two episodes were a bit slow because they're all about just getting the jailbreak set up. But now that we have the jailbreak set up both online and offline, I'm going to be showing you in future episodes how to do lots more stuff with your jailbroken PS4 to show you all the great things that you can do, like running Linux on your PS4 so that you can run PC games and emulators, homebrew emulators, PS2 games, installing PS4 games, DLC updates, you know, dumping your disc games and running them from the hard drive without the disc, modding your games with trainers and mod menus and developer menus, and converting PC mods to run on the PS4 version of certain games. Lots of other stuff as well. So I'm going to be covering tons of stuff in this series. There's going to be lots of episodes, so check the playlist link in the description. I'll be uploading a new episode every few days to this series. So really hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next episodes coming up really soon. So the next episode will be some useful homebrew apps that I highly recommend you install on your PS4 once you have it jailbroken. So that will be coming up in the next episode. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.